we're gonna get started. Welcome everyone to today's webinar on how to turn your one interview into social content for a month. Interviews, podcasts, and webinars are a goldmine of content. And I'm here to hopefully inspire you on how to use your recording. So we're calling this interview, but it goes for any type of visual film recording or audio recording that you have. For me, I mostly do obviously webinars. I did though have a sit down with my colleague Sophia the other day to have like a mock-up interview with her, so I could get my brain going on how this works with longer audio files. But let's get started. First of all, for those of you who's here for the first time, special welcome to you, of course. But I just wanted to let you know who's gonna rabble in your ears for the next minutes. My name is Heidi Bordal, and I'm the community manager here at Storykit, which means I handle the distribution of content on our social channels. And I do these kind of things, and newsletters and other owned media distribution types. And of course, I'm gonna take seize the moment to invite you to our Facebook community. It's a Facebook group that we call Video for Social Media. It's a group with, I think, like 3,600 people now, in which I publish at least weekly, together with my colleagues, some examples of how you can use Storykit. I try to do some social updates so we can keep up with all of the social media changes and updates that's going on. We're constantly, there's a new thing that we need to keep track of. It's exhausting, but we're in it together. So you're very welcome to join. And here's today's agenda. So we'll, of course, dive into how to unlock the potential of your recorded event. We'll discuss a little bit what we usually do and what we should be doing more. I'll try to set this repurposing framework for all of your social content, just to put it a bit in a context and show you how we try to work with content and how new content doesn't have to be made all the time. You can really use what you already have and giving it a second life with video. So it's not about replacing anything, it's about getting it out there even more. And then, of course, I'll give you some video ideas and we'll get into the tool and I'll show you how you can create those in a minute or two. And I will try to do this as efficiently as possible, so there's time for a Q&A. We'll make sure that there's a Q&A. And of course, you're super welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn and join the group, and we can take the discussion on from there. So I just like to, this is like one of my favorite tweets ever, or should I say now X, my favorite X, Elon Musk. No, but I think this sums up why we should be working with video, because he says himself that the more screen time you should spend looking at a post, whether it's a text or a pic or a video, the more it's boosted. Platforms when we spend time on there, of course. And video posted natively to this platform will be boosted more than an external link, because we spend more time watching a video than just clicking on a link. The platforms want you to stay on it. They want to make sure that you consume content in feed without as much driving it somewhere else. So I think this is a good X tweet that we can just have in mind. So let's say that you, just as me, you've recorded an interview or a podcast or a webinar. You've poured so much time into setting this up, recording. But what happens now? Well, here's some struggles that I know I have. And the main thing is that we're trying to promote sound in a silent feed. As soon as you log into LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, it's going to be quiet because we scroll, I know I do, at places that we shouldn't, meaning we occasionally grab our phones when we're at meetings, we're on the bus, we're sitting with a couple of friends, just to have a look at what's going on our favorite platforms. And if the sound would come on, the platforms know that we will probably close the app pretty soon after doing that. So we're trying to tell people that we've recorded ourselves talking, and we need to promote that silently. And that's like the challenge here. And putting out links to your full interview or your full podcast episode or whole webinar, they're great, but they're most likely to only be consumed by the most dedicated people. And we want to get it out there to as many as possible. And the biggest struggle of all is perhaps that you, just like me, have no idea how to cut and edit these sequences or even create subtitles, because that can be a hurdle. Getting the timing correctly, making sure that the exact sequence that you want have the exact correct captions. But this is where, of course, text-based videos come in. I would have no idea how to promote a recording of myself or a colleague in a video format if I wouldn't do it in Storykit. I had been in Premiere Pro once before I started Storykit. I was scared, but I eventually found out that you don't have to need any editing skills. So the solutions to all of this, for me and hopefully for you, is that text-based videos allows you to fire out content without having to cut out any sequences or having timed captions. And it's scalable because you can share the same content in so many ways. If I share one video with a quote in my picture, I can just change the asset and put another quote in the next time, and I'll have 2 videos in one go. And what we like to call the snackable content pieces, the bite-sized content pieces, are of course favored by the platforms, because just like Elon Musk says that they will favor a video that you posted natively instead of just sharing a YouTube link. So snackable content, why and how do we do that? Well, it's of course consumed by more than just the dedicated ones that I was going into earlier. If I see a link from Storykit to YouTube, I'm gonna watch that when I have the time, when I'm in a certain space. I can watch it on my laptop. I know that I'll be undisturbed for the next 45 minutes. But the snackable bite-sized content pieces, am I allowed to watch at any given time? When I'm in a meeting maybe, or when I'm at the bus, or when I want to zoom out from my chatting friends. And what I always like to mention, or really make what I want to emphasize, is that a lot of people are afraid, I was too, to bore my audience out? If I publish too much, will they get tired of me? But the truth is, with organic reach at least, is that, I mean, it's hard out there. Organic reach tends to be low because you're competing with so many other companies and individuals. But if you distribute more, your reach will go up, because if you publish something that's good, it's going to reach a lot of people. So don't be afraid to post a lot. I know that my manager, our marketing director, Jonna, she had a webinar with another company a few weeks back, and some of the biggest companies in Sweden, especially the publishing companies, they post, I mean, up to 40 times a day. And I follow a bunch of them, and my feed is not crowded with content from them. I'm only going to get reached by the stuff that I've shown interest in before. So publish more and you will get more reach. And as I've mentioned a few times now, is that both viewers and platforms likes in-feed content that you can just watch for a minute and then you can scroll on. So more reach more than just very dedicated people that's looking for your specific content. So how do we do all this? Well, you put up a framework. You give a couple of questions, I think, for a few minutes, and the distribution will become a lot easier, and you'll get an idea of how to repurpose the stuff that you already have. So, I mean, we've seen all this before, but it really is worth putting some effort into really trying to decide on. Because if you have the right goals and your audience in mind, and you choose the right channels, we become better marketers and content creators and distributors. I'm sure of that. So when it comes to these snackable content pieces, first we have to decide on whether we're going for video views or we actually want to drive traffic. And that will, of course, then determine the whole structure of your content. And it's going to decide on your CTA. Knowing your goals will make the videos better because you will have decided on what you want to achieve with it, of course. And I always get a little bit stressed when I'm trying to define my target audience, because I want to say, like, well, it's everyone. I want to reach everyone. I want the whole world to know what Storykit is. But and of course we'll get there someday. But just think of the reasons why you decided to record your podcast or your webinar or your digital event in the first place. Because, I mean, it might be for the public, or it could be for your stakeholders, and that will also determine your what kind of content you're putting out there. Because it's also, I think, the thing with scalable content is that you can different parts of your interview or your webinar can be like targeted to different people. It might interest different audiences. So if you're putting a lot of effort into creating one whole video, if you're going to try to put it out there to everyone, it's probably going to be the post is going to be a little crowded because you want to appeal to everyone. But if you're thinking of one video to one audience, you probably, I mean, that puts some like pressure on us as storytellers, because if I only have 50 seconds to tell one story, I'm going to have to narrow it down. But condensed information in a smaller format, I mean, that's easier for the brain to process, and your message will probably stick even better. So one segment of your podcast or your webinar might, like, be, if it's more of a thought leadership piece of content, it can go really well for like your stakeholders if you're trying to get some new investors to your company. And if you have one part about your service information, that might go even better to your future buyers. And with text-based video, you can actually create a variety of these. And of course, the channels, decide on where they are. Your future investor might hang out on LinkedIn because they're looking for professionals like you. But your next client might be spending even more time on Instagram. So decide on your channel and what format works for that channel best. And what I mean with structure is, well, do you want to be like, what kind of hook do you want? Do you want to be a bit thought provocative? Do you just want to educate someone with your storytelling? Or do you want to drive traffic? That will determine your CTA. And depending on if you want like a short, if you want to drive traffic, you probably go for like a shorter, punchier, actionable piece. But if you really want to persuade someone with your value points, you have time to tell a longer story. And of course, the frequency, how often are you going to publish? Because we'll get into this, of course, when we start making some videos together. But my thinking, or like what I try to do, is based on one webinar like this. I can create at least two or three quote videos of my sayings, my very helpful tips. That's 3 videos. Then you can make a couple of videos that asks a question that you can either answer in the video or let someone know that the answers in your webinar, so they should go check it out. And you can make a couple of summary videos, just framing the webinar, letting people know what's in it for them, where the value lies. And if you've done these 3 formats with a couple of each, that's content for a month, maybe even 2, depending on how often you want to publish. Because webinar content is, I guess, something that goes on top of your evergreen content, the stuff that you usually always talk about, depending on your industry or your niche or what your company is doing. So if you just plot these out as a nice to have, more or less, that's a lot of content, and that will make better reach for you. And as soon as you have the first 3 like format templates that you put up, it's super easy to just quickly change the quote, change the order. Maybe you have an intro in one of them and the quote comes after, or you start off with a quote and then some background. So it's super scalable, and yeah, that's great. Okay, so here are the 3 videos that I've done based on this webinar. So it's a bit like meta here, not the platforms, but this is content based on content about content. But bear with me. So I've started out with a video asking a question, hopefully that like sparks some interest in someone. So the first video here is me doing a video about videos. So it becomes a bit weird, maybe. And so this is designed or like created to keep people on the platform, the in-feed ones. I haven't included a CTA. It's just, here's something for you that hopefully gives you some inspiration. Have a look at it and keep scrolling. Made for like awareness about both our brand and what we do, and the webinar itself, and that we do webinars. The second one is, so this is 3 takeaways from the webinar about webinars. So it's a listicle video, obviously, and but the topic itself is the same. It's just 2 videos that look a little different from each other. And here I see that I have a CTA, but I call it in feed. So you can do both here, because 3 takeaways is consumable in feed. But if you want to use it with the CTA, that's fine. And this one I've created 4 clicks. It starts with a quote. So no like summary intro, just straight onto it, about how to repurpose an article. So yeah, now I'm gonna try to show you super efficiently how I create these videos. So we're gonna jump straight into the tool. Whoa. Okay, here we are. Yes, I don't need to see you. I mean my Zoom thing, not you. I hope, I would love to see you, because, you know, I'm just sitting here talking. Okay, so let's get into it. Now remember that even though this is a webinar, I don't have any like recordings of myself. I could be using like the little Zoom window that I have by myself, but since I'm sharing the screen, my Zoom recording will be of my shared screen and not by myself. So I'm doing this from a perspective, or like with a, I'm lost for English words here, but I'm doing this from the case that I don't have any recordings. So I just have what I know about my webinar. Okay, so we're gonna make a quote video. And this, I'm gonna skip to the storyboard. I'm gonna start from a blank one, actually. So we're starting from a blank sheet. Or maybe actually, I'll do something else. We have a feature in the AI that I mentioned in the introduction here, that is audio transcriptions. So I'm doing this webinar now, obviously, so I don't have the audio recording yet. But what I do have is that since this is live television, I've done some preparations. If you go into the AI, you click on this little arrow here, there's a transcribe audio feature that we're going to use today. And I have uploaded here a short sequence, a snippet of a interview that I did with my colleague Sophia. And this is where it gets kind of tricky, and I'll be fully transparent here that at the moment, this is like a feature that we're still developing and working on. So right now there's like a time limit of 7 minutes, I think. So, I mean, I've actually had to take the recording and create a snippet of it. So I had to leave Storykit to do this. Not the company, just the platform, jump out of the tool to create the snippets. But I just want to show you that if you're, because it's easy for me to remember what I've said, but if you're using an interview made by someone else, maybe you don't have time to listen to the whole like 45 minutes of them. But if you take a short snippet, we can actually transcribe it. And in that way, we will get some quotes out of it. Super useful. So I'm actually going to let the AI take out a quote for me, and then I'm gonna go to the storyboard and use just that. So this was an interview that I made with Sophia Eriksson. She works as a performance marketing manager here at Storykit, and I wanted to pick her brain and ask her about like a little bit of everything about paid performance, how she uses her budget, and what we spend our money on, more or less, to reach people and pick up leads. So I asked her, as you can see, my snippet has been fully transcribed. I could, of course, use the AI to create a video out of this. But when it comes to these longer recordings, I like to start from a blank storyboard because that's how my brain works, more or less. So I asked her, if you were starting from zero, which platforms would you be using for your paid campaign? And she answers, I would definitely go for LinkedIn, since it has very good targeting options if you want to reach other companies. Okay, so I don't have to sit down and actually like listen to the recording again. I mean, this is super like helpful. It's just an efficient way of getting those small quotes that you want to use. So once again, I should have prepared my windows for this, but I didn't. So bear with me here. I'll go to this folder just because it's easy. And now, okay, so now we're on it. Quote video. And I'll skip the storyboard. Let's see. So my intro here, if I need one, or I'm gonna ask my questions as a starting point in this video. Let's go for something that takes enough characters for my question. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. Choosing the right platforms for your paid advertisement. And then I could do like a cool caption for this, as a B2B company. And now I'm gonna do this quote. Sophia's very educational quote that I know a lot of people struggle with, but she's our paid performance star. I'll go with the bubble quote. And then I'll just, I like the medium font for our, or text size for our font. I would definitely go for LinkedIn, since it has very good target if you want to reach a lot. Okay, we'll just go with that quote. I would definitely go for LinkedIn. And then I haven't prepared a picture of Sophia, but there, I know there's a bunch of them in our asset libraries, because we have a whole lot of pictures of our employees, of course, but I haven't prepared one. I'm sorry about that. What I wanted to do was just change the icon color so that you can see that shows up. Maybe that's a bit not very accessible to reading. Okay, it's blue in the background, but I'm gonna pretend now that I'm Sophia, so I'll just grab my own picture and I'll go for an asset here. We could just go with that one for the sake of it. And then here I could include some cool knowledge about LinkedIn, but we're not going to find one now. So I'll just make this as a drive traffic to our webinar page. I'm going to go with the CTA outro that has the arrow, and that arrow can point both down and up depending on if you're posting it in the comment section of LinkedIn. It can go down. If you posted it in the link in the post, you can point the arrow up. So now I can say, listen to the full interview on storykit.io. Maybe I won't even include a link. Maybe I'll just try to drive traffic towards storykit.io. So, but you see, like what I'm aiming for here is that I have no recordings. I've just used the AI to grab a quote, and there I have a video for distribution. And now I have like a template for a quote video. So I can just reuse the same one all over again if I feel like it's performing well. Maybe I'll just do a couple different each. I'll try to do like a gut feeling A and B test to try out which one works the best. Maybe I discover that if I change this one and I'll put the quote first with a little bit more context, like as a B2B company, I definitely think that LinkedIn is the best platform for for paid campaigns because of its target options. Because she did say that, I'll just kind of rephrase her a little bit. Maybe it turns out that one works much better, then I'll use that one more and more instead. Okay, so that's how you do a quote video. We can just create this one so that we have that one. And I'll do one more. I'll go back here. And now we're going to do like a full longer story that could be like up to 60 seconds because we want to give people the whole like full interview topic that they can consume in feed. So we'll do a listicle about what kind of videos, since my webinar is about videos you can make from a webinar, that's what we're gonna do. Let's see. We'll skip to storyboard, but I'm gonna go with a template because I do a lot of listicles, and a way to do that very efficiently for me is to create a video, make it a template, and reuse it. We have a new listicle slide that's called dynamic list. It's perfect. It's everything you want from a listicle. So we'll go with that one. And you'll see here that this is based on a video that I've made. So all of the text is still there because I want to just replace the new text. So here is our dynamic number that makes a count. You count upwards or downwards, depending on what you like. I think you can start with 10 and end with 1, I think. So 3 videos to repurpose your webinar. And I'm only going to use 3, so these I'll remove. I use Command since I'm on a MacBook, and then I click on the key that goes that delete. I'm not a MacBook expert, obviously. Okay, video 1, quote video, and then I'll just like give what I mean with a quote video. Grab a few quotes from the webinar to educate your audience. And the number 2 is key takeaways. What should we say about that? Key takeaways. Grab. No, I already use grab. Find some valuable talking points from your webinar and make a listicle. So, okay, now I'm basically just creating a video with you. But I really just hope that you get the idea of what I mean, and I just thank you for staying with me here. A summary video. What should we say there? Summarize summarize your topic to drive traffic to your YouTube channel or landing page. So that's at least 2 videos that I've created just now. And then I can do a bunch of these over and over again, different highlights, different quotes, and a bunch of summaries. And what you can do, what I really like to do, is that you grab the description from your webinar that you like posted on Zoom or in your invitation email, because that was what's like often takes a lot of time when it comes to doing creating an interview or setting up a webinar, is that you're plotting down everything that's in it. And if you already have a long description, like if I go to my webinar page here on Zoom, it says here, join Heidi for an actionable 40 minutes. I can do, 3 videos just out of this, where I mention what I'm going to talk about to drive traffic to the registration page. Or I can plot these down to say, this is what we talked about on the webinar yesterday. If you want to watch it on demand, here's our YouTube link. Or a repurposing on this webinar, we discussed or dived into the repurposing framework that you can start using right now to see value. And then I'll just make a video about the framework. So, now I'm talking a little bit about like from the inside out of me and my content. But this goes for anything that's about your webinar, really. So here's my, I hope you can still see it. Here's my one video. It has a nice saying. And if people want to know more, they can find the full episode on there. And oh, this bugged a little bit since I left it, but we'll see. Here it is. So here I created 3 videos to repurpose your webinar. Super nice to just see in your feed and then keep on scrolling, or take action and go to your website, depending on the dedication. So this is really about reusing what you already have, using what took time, meaning setting up and recording the webinar, not letting that thing or that go to waste, giving it a second life, put it in front of people, distribute more, and eventually get more reach, get more brand awareness, and maybe even more traffic. Because you know that distribution and the quality of your post, they're linked. And if something's not that good, no one's going to see it. But I'm going to stop sharing now, because I think we've made it through what was on the agenda, and we've created some videos. So I'll, of course, hang out for a couple of minutes to see if there's any questions. I'm going to take a water break. Now I've been talking for 40 minutes straight. Don't be afraid to ask. But if you're going to head out, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for spending time. And if you gotta go, I'm gonna say goodbye. We have questions. If you want to use video, Anna asks, if you want to use video from a seminar, how do you do? So if you've recorded a seminar, I guess like in a room with a speaker, if that's what you mean, this was actually something that we talked about on a webinar just before summer, how to turn your smartphone clips into videos. So I would actually, because the thing here, what would take a lot of time for me would be to grab quotes from what I heard at the seminar, or what I recorded at the seminar, and like how do you say, pair that to the exact moment that they actually said it. So what I would do is that I would, from my recording, grab a quote, a written, like a quote, jot it down, and just place it on top of a recording of that person, because people are gonna be able to consume that without putting the sound on. So I hope that answers your question, Anna. And go check out the webinar on how to turn your clips into video, because we're all about like figuring out how to do video without the editing skills or like the recording skills. So just take some visuals and put it on top of maybe even a picture from someone at the seminar. So let me know if you have any more questions about that, if I do. And then Rachel asks, do you have any templates you can please share with attendees? Of course. We'll be sending out like a email. We'll send out tomorrow the slide deck that I've presented here today. I will include the storyboard IDs for the video in the slide deck, and we'll make sure to send some templates as well that you can just shove into your own Storykit account. So that would be my pleasure, Rachel. And a question from Ida, could we get the ideas for your videos you created today? Definitely. I'll make sure to include those. I'll include the videos that we had a look at before we started, and then the videos that I made now. Thank you, Ida, and Rachel for coming. Anna, our seminars are normally pretty long, like an hour. It's not pretty complicated to put in a long clip in Storykit. Yeah, I mean, this is really like, I'm all about knowing our limits. And if it comes to a long seminar that's about an hour, perhaps, I mean, Storykit is really a tool to make the shorter bite-sized videos. What I sometimes do when I have a longer webinar that's about an hour, if one of my colleagues recorded something, I'll first go to iMovie, because that's the free tool that's in MacBook, and then I will make some short snippets in iMovie, and I'll use those in Storykit. So there's different tools for everything, and Storykit's not the one for editing longer videos. So I don't know really what the equivalent to iMovie is on a PC, but I'm sure there is one that you can use. So sometimes I do a little what do you call? I leave the tool occasionally to use iMovie instead, or not instead, but to get the snippets. Then I could then use in Storykit. I'm leaning on my table and I can see my laptop shaking. If you have any more questions, fire away. If not, wishing you all a very nice Thursday, eventually weekend. I'll be back in 2 weeks, well, maybe 2.5, and we'll talk about reports and how you can use your corporate communication to make engaging videos. and we'll talk about the differences, or like the different kind of reports that you might publish. There's the ones with like here's our finances for Q3 that maybe you want to put out there for your stakeholders or your future investors. And then there's the one that the reports that you publish from your own company's perspective. Like Storykit doesn't make one now, but we could do something like Wizal does, the state of video marketing. There's two different kinds of reports, and we're going to talk about them both. I think we'll do it on the 26th, maybe, but we will let you know for sure. And as I said, don't be afraid to or don't be afraid, but please join the Facebook group so we can talk even more about it there. Ida says, thank you for today's webinar. Have a nice Thursday. Thank you so much. Likewise, Ida, thank you so much for joining and asking questions. But I'll let you off the hook. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Hope you got some nice inspiration today. What I want to leave you with is that treat your webinar or recording as any kind of longer piece of content that you have, like an article or like a report, like a press release, and just where like there's so many ways to use it, more or less just for the sake of publishing, because publishing is the way that we get better and we get insights, and we're all here in the same boat. So okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. Wishing you an amazing day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, guys. Bye.